guy will eat this foreign guy in those same places. So if you thought all mosquitoes were bad, then this is one that you can think of as being a good mosquito. Which brings me to another one of those little segues, which is pest control. Insects do an enormous amount of eating of other insects, and this is one of their ecosystem services that we may not actually think about. A lot of people tend to think of bugs as being pests, but they also get rid of a lot of pests. So this, in this corner here, is my broccoli in Colorado one year, covered in aphids, and I mean like covered in aphids. It was just this gray, awful looking mass. But if you look very closely, there's only a couple of these aphids that are actually still green. Most of them are sort of bloated looking and kind of golden or black, and eventually they'll look like this. And the reason is that there's a tiny little wasp that will lay its eggs inside these aphids. And so mainly in my garden, I was part of a community garden out there, everybody else's broccoli looked like this too, and everybody freaked out and they wanted to spray stuff all over it. And I had to point out to them, I'm like, whoops, this little touch screen is bad. I had to point out to them that all of these swollen ones, those are actually more wasp than they are aphid. At that point, the aphids quit feeding. It's not doing any damage to your crop anymore. And if you get rid of those aphids at that point, you're also getting rid of the thing that's controlling them very well. And so we've got these assassin bugs here, robber flies, wasps, all sorts of these insects will actually make their living off of eating other insects. So make sure you know what it is before you decide that you're going to kill it off of your garden.
What is it that's eating the bad one?
What is it that, oh, that is an assassin bug, also known as a wheel bug. Don't pick that up with your hand, because it's got a little pokey mouth that's very painful when it stabs into your hand. I know from experience. But yeah, that's what's eating the bagworm there. And it's a predatory bug. It's actually one of the things in the true bug family. And it's a group of insects that are also known as assassins, because they go around and they stick their little stabby mouth parts into other insects and eat them. So. And then buttonbush, this was one that was covering up Woolsey, and it was just enormously covered in butterflies and flies and bees. It was just an awesome nectar source all the way around. As was the mountain mint. This is one that I saw at Woolsey, and there's a little bit up at World Peace too, I think. And this was a very popular nectar plant for all sorts of insects. Foxglove beer tongue is another one that I saw up at Woolsey and a small bit up at World Peace. And very lovely, lovely flower. And one of the few that I'd actually had on that list from putting together compilations of the literature that also was a popular nectar plant for insects here, for bumblebees. But it's also a good opportunity to show one of the sort of darker sides of what insects do, which I think is kind of cool. Because on penstemon, you can see the scars of what they call nectar robbing. This is when insects or other animals will, instead of going through the throat of the flower and covering their bodies in pollen, which is how they achieve pollination, then they go to another flower and they take that pollen to the other flower and you make seeds. Then sometimes they get smart and decide that it's less work just to go ahead and eat from the base of the flower where the nectar is. And carpenter bees up at Woolsey were very good at this. They really did figure it out. And there wasn't a single penstemon flower that I saw that didn't have these little scars on the side. As soon as the one organism figures this out, the other bees that would be using this nectar resource decide that that's a lot easier too. So they might not be able to actually stab through on their own, but once those holes are there, then you get sweat bees and honeybees will start taking that cheater's way out.